Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's Enterprise Risk Management Toolbox webinar. A couple of housekeeping notes before we get started. If you've dialed in by phone but haven't logged in by computer and you'd like to see the slides and the demo of the field planner that will be shown during the meeting today, please point your web browser to readytalk.com. In the box where it says Join a Meeting, enter the same access code that you used to join the call, 9879821. Please stay aware of the level of background noise in your area, and if it becomes noisy, please put your phone on mute. If you're called away from the phone, please do not put your phone on hold, as that will cause your hold music to be transmitted to everybody else. You can simply hang up, and then when you're free, dial back in again, and it won't disrupt the call. We are going to be leaving the phone lines open right now, so if a question comes up, you can ask it. Also, the chat box is available. I'll be monitoring that and relaying questions to our presenter. And with
I'm on a webinar. Can I do a web thing? Oh.
Yeah, okay, and with that, I think I will hand the controls over to Russell Vernon. Russ?
Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? I want to put my picture up here real quick so you can see what I look like, because it's very odd to do webinars and you get a hard feel for people. It turns out that a lot of the communication we actually receive is through our visual stimuli. So having said that, this image will go away and we'll get started on it. But I've been involved in this development of this tool for 12 years. I was the original chair of the field safety work group that established the tool, and I've subsequently changed that job and become the director of health and safety here, but I haven't found anybody in my staff to take over. So involved in it. So I've got lots of background, lots of stuff to share, and I'll do that as we go along. But as long as the phone lines are open, you can feel free to jump in anytime and ask me a question or tell me to stop what I'm doing, and we'll do that. So if there are any questions before we get started, go ahead and ask. Otherwise, I'll move right along. Can everybody see the screen? Anybody not be able to see my PowerPoint presentation?
It looks good from here, Russ.
Thanks, Emily.
Looks good. I assume these slides will be available somewhere?
Yeah. An earlier version was distributed as part of the package that you can, it's kind of built in with the webinar, and I've got a couple modifications I'm making to it, which I'll send that out. I'll send out a user guide as well. So
if you're registered for this, we'll get a copy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure. Anything else? All righty. So the tool started as a result of a concern related to the deaths of 5 people in Mexico. We had a entomologist, the chair of the entomology department at UC Davis, his SRA, and 3 visiting scholars from Tokyo that went down with about 30 other people to the Gulf of California. They were studying spiders, arachnids on the islands out in the Gulf. The PI didn't have a boat sufficiently large to hold everybody, so we hired a local to ferry people out. There were an insufficient number of flotation devices for all the people on board. They had no way to communicate with folks on the shore. They didn't know what the weather was going to be like that day. The local couldn't communicate with the other boat. So when the storm came up out of the Pacific, the local guy got the hell out of there and got close to shore. The other boat with the faculty member and the Japanese scholars capsized along with a few other people, I would say about half a dozen. The people that stayed with the boat all drowned. The people that swam about a mile to the nearest shore survived. And as a result, we discovered all kinds of stuff about what we didn't know, what people going on trips didn't know. We met as a result of this event, representatives from almost every campus met and started talking about it. We had the national labs as part of our discussion at the time, so there was lots of expertise of people that went around the world that were in the initial development of the tool. The name of the tool was something that was coined by Joe Adams, who's no longer a part of the team, but I still thought of every time I see it. It was one of those clever names, Travel Risk Insurance Planning Safety System. It is a system-wide portal. It allows you to register for business travel and obtain timely foreign location intelligence data, which we're going to go into before we get done so you can see. The operational planner tool was initially developed as a field safety plan generator to solve this problem related to what happened in Mexico and other places. But in the development, it was clear that the kind of problems we were looking at and solutions we were coming up with, or at least things to make people think about, were much broader than just field safety. Certainly, there's always a question of, what do you have to do, when do you have to do it, and who's going to force me to do this? And so kind of the two ways things came down in terms of the way it was going to be used was there are operations that are business travel, which is probably the largest chunk of what university does, is fly around, visit people, give conferences, give talks, go to other facilities. And then there are field operations, which can include establishing a university in China, or trying to develop economically a region in Mideast Asia or something. So in addition to just doing research and teaching in the field. So the graphic I've got on the slide now is a poor attempt to illustrate kind of how it all fits together. The travel registration piece of it is really intended to be when you go out of state or go overnight and you're just going to a building or an existing facility and returning again, then you need to book your travel through the business travel section. And that allows, it has allowed UC to quantify who's going where, when, how many people, what they're doing in general, and reduce the cost of risk. Because prior to this registration system, the university had no idea who was going where, and we were paying outrageous sums for insurance as a result. Now we can quantify that over the course of many years and get a better idea of where people are going. The field operational planner is intended to provide risk information to the people doing the work, give them a level of detail to review what their plans are, and develop a plan while they're away so that we can reduce the likelihood of an adverse outcome even if conditions become adverse to the people going. There's a bunch of sections you'll see as we go along that were how we broke the universe of risk or hazard apart and how we're trying to mitigate those. So let me go on. I just seconds ago slightly modified this slide because I realized I missed the piece about just regular old business travel, which I'll need to introduce into the presentation before I send it to you. But essentially, if someone's going away from campus and the travel's within the state of California, they're going to a UC reserve station or aboard a established vessel like SIO, then we're not going to really impose our will on them. They need to follow the rules of the field station. All the established field stations and large vessels have robust safety programs and robust kind of interactions. So we're really not going to get involved in that. If not, if they're traveling within the state of California and they're doing field work, not just going to a conference, then we want them to complete the field operational planner. Additionally, if you go the other route, travel is not within the state of California, and it's for research or teaching or establishing of some operation in a foreign country, then we need you to look up the data about the foreign country before you go to the field operational planner to answer the questions, because we have this excellent resource I'm going to show you in a minute to find out information about what is out there, current information. When you go to the field operational planner, that's the part in the blue. That's where we're going to spend most of our time, all of our time talking today. Just want to give you some context to how this fits into the wider world. And that tool itself is being moved as we speak. It's actually at the San Diego Supercomputer Center. They've just finished doing a bunch of testing to make sure it'll fit into the single sign-on system for the rest of UC. So it's, I put on here that the address will change, the URL will change, but the main content's the same. Although I realize I can't spell insurance. Anyway. Going down, once you've completed the field operational planner, if you can do this field planner exercise, a year ahead of time, 2 months ahead of time, a week at a time. Typically, people don't actually book their travel until 3 or 4 weeks or a month ahead of their trip. And so, if you book your travel through Connexus or the UCLA system, then the data about the exact flights you're taking and who's going is automatically entered into the iJet system, which will provide customized notifications of activities that can affect your travel. You'll enter your local phone numbers or for text messaging or email addresses, and they will send out notices about, there's a hurricane coming this way, so you probably want to avoid those cities, those kinds of things. If you didn't book your travel through Connexus, under our current system, you'll need to complete the business travel registration, which gives you a link to connect into Connexus at the end of it, and then enter the information not connect into Connexus, connect into iJet. Enter the information into iJet so that they can notify you of the same events that they could if you booked it through Connexus. It's a little complicated, and there's some pieces that we would like to connect together better, like if you create the field operational planner, we'd like to go ahead and put that information into iJet, but there's some time issues, there's some challenges with doing that. So at this point, this is the process to follow. And so moving along, what's the current status of the system? The travel registration system you can access through here. It was developed by the vendor we used to create the field operational planner. It's been functional for more than 5 years, and they've been making improvements every day. They have a phone line to call if you've got a technical problem with trying to get your trip registered. The carrot for registration is a cute little PDF card that's got your name on it and the dates you put in for the start date of the travel, the end date of the travel, and phone numbers to contact, and the account number for your insurance. So if something goes wrong, you got a phone number to call. You can call up and get help. The field operational planner has been in use in Santa Cruz for more than 3 years. It was used at San Francisco in Global Health for a short period. Then the campus made some changes to access, and there was some downsizing of folks in Global Health, so that hasn't yet been reinvigorated there. We have transferred it to the Supercomputer Center, and the single sign-on, like I said, is almost totally complete. We've beta tested it here. Santa Barbara's done it. Davis have all been actively involved in the development and have been poking around on it. So I'm going to show you how you can go in and play with it yourself. Once the planner is complete and up and running behind the firewall, it'll make it a lot easier for people to access it because they don't have to remember yet a separate login name and password. So the sections of the planner that were initially developed more than 12 years ago, the locations, foreign considerations was recently added, but locations, communications, medical considerations, security, participants, transportation of people, materials, and then special operational hazards. In discussion with the folks mostly from the National Labs and Davis and San Diego that have spent a lot of time managing field work, that this seemed to fit the most logical organization. So that's the way we broke the tool apart. The system-wide policy on the management of health, safety, and the environment requires accountability and distributed responsibility and accountability. And so our model is that there's a person that is responsible for the trip in a research setting that is typically the faculty member or the PI in charge of the trip. And in cases of larger business ventures, it could be anyone in the system. Could be administrative person as opposed to an academic person. But there's a person in charge of the trip. That person has to recognize they're in charge of this trip, log on, give the trip a name, and if you've got somebody else doing the grunt work for you to fill out the data, then you assign a scribe. I'll step this through you, but just so you can get the overall view. The project description and purpose and dates and duration are established in this process. If you are the person that is filling it out and you're the responsible party, the assignment of a scribe is an optional thing. The next step is to identify who are your contacts. Who are your contacts at home, primary and alternate, what frequency will you be reaching them, and what do you want them to do if you can't reach them, if they can't reach you. And then we have a series of 7 questions you go through that decide which of these sections you're going to have to fill out. If you're going on a trip by yourself, then you start off, you're the responsible party. It's very clear that a list of participants isn't going to be useful for you, so we don't include that. All trips away require identification locations. If you're going overseas, you have to fill out the foreign consideration stuff, but if you're staying within the United States, that's not useful for you. So we've asked a series of questions that will help limit what you're going to have to answer to. So here they are. Travel outside the United States, will you be able to use cell phones and things? Are you going with others? Are you transporting hazardous materials or animals? Are you traveling in an area which poses increased health and safety risk? Right now, if I was going to fill this out and say I was headed to New Orleans, I'd say, yeah, I'm headed in an area that has increased health and safety risk because there's a hurricane coming that way. So some of these things change over time. That's why you want to, be cognizant of the hazards that are there. Once you get to your destination, are you going to, rent a helicopter or charter a boat? What kinds of activities are you going to use to move people around? Because in terms of the things that have injured and killed most people, transporting people is the largest hazardous operation that's involved in the work we typically do. So once you get there, you step off a commercial plane, you hop on a dune buggy, and you roll over 20 miles down the road. That's going to be a challenge you want to try and at least address, recognize. And then beyond that, what are the...
Can I ask a question, or do you want us to save questions?
No, I'd rather have you interrupt me.
Okay, this is Warner Hudson. I'm the medical director for occupational health, employee health for UCLA, and haven't done a lot of travel preparation visits for international travelers for multinational companies before I came back into the UC system a couple years ago.
Great.
We had a meeting on August 14th up at UCOP to go over sort of the medical preparation piece of the process, sort of enterprise-wide, and learn that we don't really have a robust preparation process so that people know what vaccines, what medications like malaria medications, travelers' diarrhea medications, things that they ought to kind of carry with them.
Right.
Have sort of all prepared before they go, not to mention some locations may need medical kits.
Sure.
If they're liable to get a snake bite or need an IV or things where the IVs and fluids and needles aren't clean. They may be working with AIDS patients in Africa.
You bet.
Things like that. So I think that Cheryl is going to add to one of the intro letters for people that are doing international travel for work to visit their occupational health or employee health clinic before they travel. Because I actually am not sure that most people would know really what the medical preparation steps are, much less what the hazards are where they're going.
You're right. And let me show you how you can find out that information and show you where in the tool we ask if you've sent people to your travel clinic. So you're absolutely right. This tool can't answer those questions, can't replace the conversation with a doctor, but it can help you point you in the right direction.
Right, and sort of the sub-step is identifying which travel preparation clinics are sort of pre-vetted that you should go to.
Well, that would be great if someone in the system did that. What we have, let me just get out of my presentation real quick and show you a site you can go to. So we, of course, it helps if I enter my password right. Over the course of the development of this tool, Grace recognized that we needed to have access to data and people that are familiar with things overseas. Now, this really only focuses on overseas stuff and not in-state.
Sure.
So, it's got that limitation, but you can go and pick out where you're headed. You choose a location. So let me pick the Caribbean, and I'm going to the Bahamas, and I'll go to Nassau, and it will tell me what the health risks are. Let me open up.
But there are 4 little PDFs that you can email people.
You see those?
On the right. Yeah, I've used those a fair amount.
All right, so that you have access to that without doing any work ahead of time. So you can look all that stuff up, and it'll tell you the immunization recommendations. I totally agree with you. We still need to have a clinic. I mean, my campus doesn't have a...
and where are you?
We're at Riverside.
Okay.
Riverside doesn't have an occupational health clinic on campus.
Right.
You have to farm it out to various sites around. And we do have a travel clinic. The travel, the student-sponsored health clinic actually does travel stuff. So we do use them for that. But there's a lot more we could do. So I appreciate the comment. Is there any other...
Yeah, you might touch base with, if you haven't already, with Cheryl, who hosted this meeting of the medical directors from all the campuses.
Yeah.
Focused on the travel medicine preparation piece. I think the rescue, the calls for help, security, medical, insurance, that is pretty well built. This travel planner process document looks pretty good. The missing piece that some campuses are doing a little of, some are doing a lot of, but there's no kind of organized approach, is the medical preparation piece.
I know that since Grace's office is directly involved in the student insurance stuff and more directly involved in oversight of the campus medical centers, it seems to me that would be a logical extension just to vet out the travel clinics and see that they have the information they need to be able to provide that information clearly.
Can I add something? This is Inez from UCEAP.
Yes, of course.
All of our students are doing a travel clinic, and it's required pre-departure, and it's online. All the health centers in the system got together and organized the online travel clinic. They all financially supported it, and we have different modules for the different countries which are specific to UCEAP, obviously, and to students. But it is something that probably the system can use as an example of what works well, because students can do it from anywhere in the world and do the travel clinic and then go to a travel clinic specialist for the vaccines, et cetera, and the travel preparation.
Wow. Yeah, I think.
So hang on a minute. Hi, this is Cheryl Lloyd. And so I really don't want to hijack Russ's presentation on the field operational plan, but I will take, Inez, your suggestion. I am working with Dr. Hudson and the other occupational health doctors on how we can improve the services for pre-trip planning to faculty and staff.
Yeah.
I think, Inez, I want to take a look at what you have, and maybe we can work that out for the faculty and staff.
Yeah.
I do want to get Russ back on his presentation for the rest of the audience. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Cheryl. And thank you both for bringing that up, because that's an important, prevention's a whole lot better than trying to solve a disease after you've gotten it. So our steps moving forward, of course, are designing reports in the system for each of the users that we might need, training folks on how to use it, developing simple tools to make that possible, communicating lessons learned. we have oftentimes in the academic world, the largest challenge is to convince people that the reason you need to do something. And often that is most convincing when you've got a story to tell. So a story about the deaths in Davis convinces some people. A story about a volcanologist in the caldera of a volcano when it erupts convinces other people. So over the course of time, stories are the way we tend to most convincingly change behavior. Providing further resources, in particular, if people are doing work in fashions that would be unsafe, probably illegal in the state of California, we don't want them to do that same kind of work elsewhere. So if you're digging a 12-foot deep trench, it's 2 feet wide, and you jump down the bottom of the trench, we don't want it to cave in on you, whether you're living here or someplace else. There are issues related to special activity, that work you're doing when you get to the field, or you're building a new building, what are the conditions that you need to be able to make sure that building's going to stand for years, other kinds of things like that. So in this process, of course, communication is really important. One of the basic things we try to worry about is how are you going to get help when something goes wrong? How are they going to find you to get you back out again? Where's the local qualified medical assistance? And then what are the issues related to legal and security complications, like the guy that was arrested in Egypt when he joined the protests? We got him out of the jail and out of the country in a fairly short order, but if it hadn't been for a system set up under Grace's office, it wouldn't have happened. He'd still be in jail probably. And then other issues related to communicating with local contacts, campus contacts, and family members. So that's the end of the slide portion of the talk. Since I've already got to the World Q Planner stage, let me show some of the people that may not have seen it. A trip brief provides you information in general about the area. Let me drag it over here. So if you're going to the Bahamas, it gives you links to the recommended immunizations, the customs, some details, tells you what your dollar's worth, what the weather's like for the next period, and then if there's any travel alerts, it tells you that. The Bahamas are a pretty benign place. I picked a pretty simple one. Let me, by way of exploring it further, show you the planner and then where you can get some more information. So currently the URL is listed on the screen, uctrips-insurance.org/login.jsp. That will change. Like I said, that gets you to a general login screen. Let me zoom in because I'm getting old and better to be able to see what I'm typing. And I have established a general login name and password I want you all to write down. It's all capital TRIPSS for the login name and password. That'll take you to my site, which is now too big. You can go in and play with it. You can't break it, so I'm not worried about you breaking it. There's links to resources on the left and contacts. Contacts, click to a list of all the contacts for all the campuses. You want to create, edit, add a field safety plan. Here's a list of the plans that have been started in this login. The way the system is intended to work is the person that's responsible for the plan establishes the plan, if you have someone else generate it, create it, they go ahead and do that. When they're all done, that person then approves the plan. So since I'm the responsible party, I can approve or decline or add a review, send it back to my scribe and say, I need you to add this in or fix this problem. So if you start a brand new plan, give you a title. By default, we have this login as John Doe, but you can change that. And then if you want someone else to complete the plan, you just complete the plan creator part, and they do the plan. If I go back, let me show you one. We'll save and continue. Let me zoom. Okay, zoom out a little bit. That's too much. I know there's a way to make the text bigger, but in the interest of time. So I created one, a virtual exploration. That's the title for this project. Here's the keywords we're putting in so you can search for it later. This is essentially a training. If it was a course, an academic course, you could enter the catalog number in here. I've established dates for when this trip is going to happen. If you have a trip you go on all the time, repeatedly, then you can enter things like this is the frequency at which you do the dates, the trip, so you don't have to recreate it all the time. I want to go on to who are the primary contacts. I got a primary contact and an alternate contact. When did I want them to reach me, and what I want them to do if they can't reach me. All this information that you fill out. Now, so you have to think about it before you go. And here's the 7 questions, right? Are you traveling outside the United States? All these questions I had on the previous slide. I went ahead and marked them all so you can see that this slide shows that each of the sections, location, foreign concern, this is the tab we're on, the location section. All these sections are required now. And I can't save it until I complete it all the way. It'll say, I didn't enter this stuff, so I got to go back and enter this stuff. I can cheat, though. I can go back out, go in, and look at another one. And this is establishing a research station outside of La Paz. We're going to do everything there. We're going to have a clinic. We're going to teach and do research. We're going to be there for 10 years. These are my contacts. This is what I want you to do if you can't reach me. Again, I've connected all these things so you can see. You can go to the location. You list when you're going to be there, what the largest city is, what type of lodging you'll live in. We had a woman die from the hantavirus because she lived in a cabin that had rats living in it, and she was exposed to their feces and urine. Nearest medical center, where the consular office is, and a local contact. And then if you have a first aid kit, who's the person that you're going to count on to be able to treat people. And you go on to foreign considerations, what's the total value of the project, how much is this project funded for, have you made reservations through Connexus or entered them through the business travel portion. You need to register with the U.S. embassies, so have you done that? And are you involving foreign subjects testing or clinical trials? You need to put that information in. It goes on down through, are you going to hire people besides U.S. personnel or UC personnel for the event? You know, you got to explain that because each of these bits, each of these can be flagged to let the risk manager know, okay, here's information you need to have. I need to contact HR to give you more advice on how you can not get into trouble by hiring locals, what the rules are that you need to be able to do that safely. So you can see that each of these sections has specific questions, like in the communications plan, do you already have one you want to upload? If that's not the case, then how are you going to, what's your means of communication? How are you going to get in touch with people? What about during an emergency? There's advice that's interspersed in here. As you go through, you can, what are the local contacts? What actions would you want them to take if you don't, if you can't get in touch with them? Under medical considerations, which I think is of some concern, we ask, is there an increased risk, such as malaria? Describe it. Where's the competent medical facility that you can visit that's close to you? how are you going to secure treatment? What's the increased risk associated with extreme climate? How are you going to mitigate that? What about sanitation levels? What are you going to do with if you have inadequate sanitation? Are you traveling in the wilderness? How are you going to handle that problem? And you'll notice that we ask questions and leave blanks, big boxes for you to answer them. In the end, you end up with a report. Let me go back just. You end up with a report that summarizes all this stuff you've said. So here in this particular plan, they weren't going overseas and they weren't taking anybody else with them. So the sections that were required were the ones listed. There's links to resources. Here's the title of the trip. Here are the people that are responsible. Description, here are the contacts. And as you go through, you can see the locations that you're going to. Here's your communications plan. Here's the medical considerations that were involved and identified during the development of the plan. Trying not going too fast. There's security considerations you might have to worry about, both personal and equipment, material security. List of participants. You would have, for every participant, you would have a listing of the participant and the emergency contact information. It was one of the challenges we've had in other events is somebody gets injured or dies and you don't know who their next of kin is. You don't know who to contact. So we're trying to handle that. Transportation of hazardous materials, we don't try and train you on how to properly ship hazardous materials. We ask you who the person is that is trained in your system, in your trip. And if you don't have anybody trained, then we'll give you the advice not to try and transport. Special hazards, we've asked questions about using hazardous materials, how you can prevent spills, what kind of specialized equipment are you going to have. So we go through the special operational hazard section. How about advice where to obtain the traffic training? The system was established as a trying to accommodate all the different campuses' needs, and how one campus would provide training for a specific issue and how another campus would do it are going to vary. We certainly could do a better job of listing the training contacts on campus that can help you provide training. That's probably a good idea. At least, like, we have a training manager in our department that doesn't know everything, but she knows how to go out and get the people that do. So.
But in the absence of the list, Russell, would the person just contact their EH&S department and they could direct them to where training would be in the particular area that they need it?
You bet. That in the absence of a list of all the trainers, that would be a good place to start. In some cases, the responsible party is the most knowledgeable person and has the most experience. In other cases, they've never gone on a trip before. This is the first time for them. So it's going to vary quite a bit, but certainly contact the EH&S. Then the risk inventory, which is a really comprehensive list of risks and hazard mitigations or management mitigation challenges, recommendations, we've added to the back of the planner with the idea that for every trip people are going on that involves work away from an established center, you want to fill this out, and you need to give a copy, allow every person that's going on the trip to have a copy to read and sign that they understand what the hazards are, understand how to get in touch with folks when they need to, and then give copies out to as many people as you need to, both on campus and away from campus. See, political risk, compliance risk, finance risk. So in many cases, the risks are mitigated by training, not always.
And Russell, another really kind of nice feature is that you don't have to print it out. You can also keep it on your PDA or your...
Yeah, if you want to be green, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I'm just saying that sometimes you're going to print one out, and you might, particularly if you're going somewhere that's, you're not going to have connectivity. But if you're somewhere where there's somewhat of connectivity, you can have it on your electronic devices.
You bet. It's a PDF. You can do whatever you want to with it. You can. And we oftentimes say email it to everybody in the trip, and then we print one copy out and have them all sign it. We leave that at home, so if something untoward happens, then we at least have proof that people read the darn document. So that are these completed forms reviewed and approved various committees offices. So under our process, the process was established that the person responsible for the trip is responsible for approval of the plan, and it doesn't require an outside committee to approve it. What has been happening, the reason Santa Cruz has gotten so ahead of the curve for using this system is that their Animal Care and Use Committee, their ICUC committee, said, okay, we're not going to approve any use of animals in the field until they have a field safety plan. And that's how they've enforced it in Santa Cruz. If we're using animals in the field, you have to fill out the Field Operational Planner tool and print a plan and present it to IACUC before they will approve the use of animals in the field. One could certainly see this system expanded into, approvals of some sort or another from various folks if you wanted to. At the present time, we sidestepped that issue and said, well, the PI or the responsible person for the trip is in charge of the trip. They are responsible for it, so let's hold them accountable by having them approve it. We're a big bureaucracy. We could certainly become really bureaucratic if you wanted to. We were trying to avoid that with this process, but it wouldn't be that hard to make it. The software was developed by a company that deals with your hazardous materials business plan submittals for each of the counties in the state, and they are used to having an approval process. And if you look at the planner there, let me log on as a administrator. Here are all the sections of the plan, and you can look at all the plans that have been submitted for my campus, and you can review them. Actually, step through the plan, and essentially you could approve the plans at this level. The software has the ability to require approvals centrally. We didn't pursue that in this process because we didn't have the resources. Each of the people that came from each of the campuses did this kind of like as a volunteer basis. They were interested in trying to solve a problem, and they didn't have the ability to establish yet another biological use authorization committee or a human subjects authorization committee, so we just created the tool. But it's in there. It's certainly possible to do. Did I answer all the questions? Any additional questions? That when you look at the administrator tool, you can certainly look at all the submittals. You can compare a submittal from last time to this time, see what the differences are. You can contact folks. It's certainly possible to improve the tool, and I think some of the suggestions that I heard today would be improvements we could make.
OPNet is the one that you can do if you want to go in at your own log on.
So if you haven't taken advantage of the World Q Planner, even for your own trips, I recommend you do it. It's quite a useful tool. So you can find out a lot of information about the place you're going to without going there first.
And the World Q Planner is available to anybody with a UC ID. Russell put up the link earlier. You just go in, and this is great because it allows you to research a trip, find out about where you're going before you book the trip.
Yes.
Over like a year ago, what you'd have to do is book the trip and then have access to this information. Now you're able to do it before you book your trip.
And it's got summaries, brief summaries like security issues, but then lots of really great information. You can link right to it. All these under Destination Intelligence are hyperlinks that will take you to way more data than you could possibly imagine being able to have access to. So it's a hell of a tool, and one of the best outcomes of this process is our having access to this thing. And they've also got travel trips, so before you go on any trip, there's good advice here you can provide to folks, like health tips, pre-travel, advice for women, visiting predominantly Muslim areas, issues like that. So the planner tool, I encourage you to go on and explore it yourself. Check it out. I didn't go through every single part in detail. I figured I'd see a bunch of people sleeping if I did. So please try it out. You will have my contact information if you want to contact me offline, and I'm still involved in the development of the project, so if you have suggestions you think should be incorporated, if you have campus-specific suggestions you want to incorporate, I can get you in touch with the people on your campus that have been involved in the development of this, and you guys can talk it out and figure out what you want to do. There's a possibility of having some slight differences from one campus to another in terms of how the system operates. In terms of the questions, that's kind of the same for all the campuses at this point. So, any other questions?
Just a real mundane sort of mechanical question. When this thing was rolling out, UCLA EHS was pretty busy, so they didn't really fully get on board now. Stacy Kramer, I don't know if Stacy, you're on the call.
I am.
Wanted to get the log on and sort of get us connected in with this process.
Sure.
Maybe offline, an email or two back and forth can get her a log on, because I tried to log on for UCLA and there was no...
Yeah, there's never been a site set up for UCLA.
Correct. So they just...
We're kind of coming to the party late. Sorry.
Right. But it's not impossible to do by any means, especially with the putting the thing behind the firewall at UCSD is going to make it even easier. And so I would say hold on about 2 weeks, make sure we get the system up and running properly, and then we'll be sure to get a site set up for UCLA, and I'll get you involved with the vendor so you can tell them what you want it to look like.
Fantastic. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Send me a note offline. You'll have my contact information by this afternoon if you don't already know who I am. Anything else?
Thanks.
Thank you all. I appreciate your taking the time to view this, and look forward to interacting with you further.
Terrific. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Russ.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you.
Thanks,
next time.
Russ.